to me, kind of a bigger shot than Iga Swiatek. I don't know whether that's wild thing to say, because I think Emma Navarro, we had really marked her card as a threat here, but we weren't sure about Iga Swiatek on the grass. I was sort of waiting for maybe someone to beat her, but I wasn't really waiting for this sort of performance from Coco Gauff. This has not come out of nowhere, because we have seen her not have her best game in the past, but she's so good usually at battling through when she hasn't got her best game, and that grit just wasn't really there today. And this changes the whole complexion of the women's draw for me, Coco Gauff going out.
Yeah, we have kind of chaos in the bottom half of the women's draw. We'll kind of look at the individual results today, and then we'll zoom out and look at that bottom half of the draw, which is in a tantalising and interesting and slightly weird place at the halfway through the round of 16 stage. She's kind of stone cold, David, isn't she, Emma Navarro? I got the vibe from her that, like, this isn't an upset, this isn't a shock, this is me. Like, yeah. I'm really good.
I don't know her well enough to be able to tell exactly what it is, because I think my sense is that she's just kind of an understated person who it does mean a great deal to, and it is a big deal, but she's just not that person that is necessarily going to let you know every single thought and feeling that goes through her head outwardly, or whether it is whether it's just supreme confidence. What I can tell you is the way she's played against both Coco Gauff and Naomi Osaka makes me feel we shouldn't even be thinking of anything else she does in this draw as a shock, because she has comprehensively outplayed these two players. Now, they may look at themselves and think that they've underperformed, and I'm sure they have. Look, we know what their top level is, but her level was so high and so relentless and so difficult to counter that I feel like she's not really given them much play on anything. She's not given them an in.
Yeah, and also we shouldn't forget the win she had over Diana Schneider, who, confident player who beat her on the grass last week. That was a revenge win for Navarro.
Yeah, like she's Osaka, Schneider, Gauff.
That's a very legit
is
run.
Serious. Her two first outings on centre court in there. She's just told the centre court crowd, this is probably my favourite court in the world to play on. She seems so at home out there, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because she's a college player. She was the NCAA champion in 2021, and sometimes I think, I mean, is there a bigger gap in the world vibes-wise between centre court and the chaos of college tennis? Like, it's not necessarily a natural fit. Oh, here we go.
The grounds will be closing in around 15 minutes. Please make your way to the exit gates and make sure you take all your belongings with you. We hope you've enjoyed your day here at Wimbledon and wish you a pleasant and safe journey home. Thank you.
Particularly Anne Crown.
It's a bit Taylor Fritz, isn't it? Wish you a safe journey home. Have a nice flight home.
I think some people are getting really annoyed with me doing the announcement, but we can't do anything else.
We can't do anything. It's so loud for us. It's either sit here and just watch us in awkward silence, or watch Matt do that. Let us know what your preference is. Emma Navarro, what was I saying? Yes, NCAA champion. Couldn't be a bigger vibe change between college tennis and centre court, but she clearly just absolutely loves it. And maybe she's somebody that's kind of comfortable anywhere. But the most, you saw more of this match than I did, Matt, but the most glaring thing to me was Emma Navarro doesn't have a weakness. Coco Gauff's got a glaring one today.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, the forehand was really, really bad from Coco Gauff, and I highlighted it the other day as saying I thought it was really good. So, I hope I'm giving some balance there. Like, I'm not always just pointing it out when it's bad. Like, that she has been having some better days on it, but this was a real regression, and Navarro exploited it. Two
ways of looking at that, though, right? Like, if it can be just bad out of nowhere, that's a very insecure place to be for Coco Gauff.
And I think maybe when it was repeatedly bad, kind of over the past year or so, she won the US Open with it not being very good. And I think she was just in that mindset of battling and grinding. And I think this maybe caught her out a little bit, because as I said, she had been playing well. I think she looked shocked that this had happened today. I think she's impressed in 20 minutes or so. We won't be able to report on that in this podcast, but I wouldn't be surprised if she came in and said, don't really know where that came from. Like, she was talking in press the other day about her serve not being quite where she wanted it to be, but she did speak about the rest of her game being in good shape, and it's unravelled today, and it just felt like it took her by surprise. And it's what we say about best of three. Like, suddenly you're setting a break down, and Navarro's playing beautifully out there, and it went quick. That was the thing. Like, you didn't really have time to get your head around it, and I imagine that she was feeling some of those same things.
Those vibes with the box from Coco Gauff, there was a lot of gesticulating. It wasn't, I wouldn't go so far as to say it looked toxic, but it wasn't good stuff, was it? Are we worried about that?
Well, I felt at the end there it was a sort of, oh, what's the point kind of vibe from both sides almost. I could see Brad Gilbert, I think, trying to motion maybe for more shape. I'm not exactly sure what that meant, but I got the sense he was giving suggestions at that point. She wasn't having it. Maybe she was saying something back, and he looked like he was thinking, oh, I'm just trying to help here, I'm just trying to... But it's difficult. It's difficult to know. And as you say, certainly at the US Open, we've been able to get more of an insight because people are so well mic'd up. You get a real insight as to what's being said back and forth. But there's no question. I mean, it was an anxious time because nothing was working. That's the bottom line. She was trying to do what she does. She was digging in. You never get a tank from Coco Gauff, and I mean, obviously, nobody tanks in that level of match. But you never feel like she's just going to tailspin away and not dig in. It's just that she couldn't get any traction. She's digging in, and there's just nothing happening. It's still going downhill, and I mainly feel that's Navarro that is to credit with that, because there were a couple of loose shots at the end where I thought, oh, here we go. I remember thinking, I was watching it with you in this press conference room, Catherine, because we'd just been in the Emma Raducanu press conference, and I was just about to say to you, when this goes 5-4, I'm going to the hill to watch the rest of it. And it never got to 5-4 because or if it gets back on serve, I can't exactly remember what the score was at that time, but then Navarro just weathered that little rocky patch and still put her away. Just fantastic.